Hello there, YouTube. This is Crazy Cool New Yorker coming at you today. Well, that was my buddy. We're actually trying to do some riding today together, but his bike is giving him some problems. That's KCYO. So we knew each other for about 8 years now, and we figured, hey, it's going to be a nice day. Let's get together. Let's ride, explore the countryside. And he has a nice RV up by where I live. He keeps it year round at the RV camp. So we went over there. He texted me, said, "Hey, I'm up here. Won't you? I heard you are, I heard you are going out riding. I'd like to join you." So I said that'd be good. So I went over there. We had a couple of burgers, some chips, some soda, and his bike started to act up on him really bad. We're not sure what the problem was. We got on the Taconic, and unfortunately, it just shut off on him. Like right before we got there, it shut off, and he tried to burn it out. He actually had the older Kawasaki that still has the carburetor. So we was thinking maybe it was clogged, so we cleaned it out a little. He put some carbo in there to see if he can get that together. Thought it did the trick. Unfortunately, it didn't. So your boy's solo today. It's all right, but it would have been nice. I was going to show him a little of the countryside here. He's never taken 82, I don't think. Not where I was going to show him. He said he's taking this to Binghamton. He used to run this back road up to Binghamton. So we pulled into the gas station, and he just said he won't be able to, unless we stay on the highway, he won't be able to cruise and see the countryside. So I told him it's best he goes home. It's best that he's safe, not sorry. We don't want to be too far and then something really goes. And he's got maybe about 30 miles to get back home. He lives in Putnam. So he's just we're right by the Taconic. He said, you know what, let me just go for it. I'm going to get on the Taconic, because he's like me. He doesn't live too far away from the highway. It's maybe about 8 miles off from the Taconic, so I'm 10. So, he's just going to go home, and we'll meet up later on. Yesterday, my family and I, we were there. Special shout out to his beautiful family. Casey, Miss Casey, and their son, little Casey. Had some good food and everything. And I mentioned this earlier, where we left the food by accident. He got up in the middle of the night and ate the whole thing. Now that was enough food for 4 people, and he ate the whole thing. So it was good though. Can you blame him? I thought he was going to do me a solid and bring it or something. But he laughed at me and said I had the midnight munchies. So it's just me today. I'm going to go out, do some riding. So it's just Crazy Cool New Yorker riding solo. Now what I figured, I don't have anything to talk about today. I really don't. But one of the persons who, he's a friend. He watches the videos that I blog, and he likes them. And he was saying, I remember when such and such, like when you first got your bike. So we started to reminisce on certain stuff. And it's so much fun when you remember things, especially from your childhood. Even if it's a little bad, it's still special. you can look back if you're able to, and laugh at it sometimes. So, I'm going to share a little brief history of my childhood growing up, and but I'm going to do it as I remember when. So, and it's fun. It sparks laughter. It may spark stuff that you remember at that time, because I'm a '70s baby. So, if you're in your 40s and your 50s, you can relate. Even in your 60s, but that means you're a 50s baby, so you're too old. Just jokes. But I'm a '70s baby, so it captures the teenage, or rather the toddler to teenage years of growing up, in New York City. Like I said, it's kind of like I remember. So I started with, I remember when Voltron first came on TV. And I remember when Reggie Bar was the best candy in the world. I remember when Yankee Stadium used to give out free bats and bat days, and it was a pleasure to go to, and cheap too. I remember when the train was 50 Cent. Not the rapper, the actual New York train station. I remember getting my first puppy, and I thought it was the best thing in the world, and I believe I was like 6 years old or something like that. I remember me and my mother walking to school. She was dropping me off in this Head Start, and all the kids knew who I was. They all knew who she was too. I remember riding my big wheel down the hill and skidding out at the bottom of the hill with no cares in the world. If you don't know what a big wheel is, just look it up on YouTube. It's a great toy to have. My son will have one. So, whatever I had as a kid and I loved it, he's going to get it this year as well. He's going to get it as well. I remember growing up in the Bronx and seeing the movies that were double features for like $3. So you would go in and see a movie at 12 o'clock, and you'll be done at the movie theater by 4:30, almost 5, because you would see 2 movies for the price of 1. I remember my whole family going to the drive-in theater at the Whitestone. Now, if you live in New York, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I remember my first kiss was to a young lady by the last name of Miss Smith. I'm not going to say her first name. You never know if she was watching. She'll probably get mad at me. But I will say I was just maybe 8 or 9 years old. I remember jumping down a flight of the stairs and kicking one of my good friends in the chest. I don't know why we did it. We was doing some stupid kung fu movies and stuff like that. I remember seeing my first Rocky movie and walking out the theater ready to box every kid in the theater. I remember seeing my karate movies and walking outside and swore I was a black belt karate master who was a pupil of Bruce Lee. I remember my first day at school and me crying because my mom was leaving me. I wasn't ready for it, fellas. YouTubers, I was not ready. I remember my first day of getting a bad grade. It was a 75, and I was so afraid that I cried as I handed it to my mom. What could you say? I remember my first teacher crush was to a teacher named Miss Nicola Cockles. I know it's a weird name, but that was her name. She was young. She was the prettiest teacher in the school, and I had her I had her in the 2nd and 3rd grade, and this was in the 70s, and she was my favorite teacher of all times. I'm gonna jump ahead a little. I remember in junior high, My second junior high crush on a teacher was to Miss Perry, who was actually the sister-in-law to the Fritz Perry, the gentleman who played football, the refrigerator from Chicago. She married his brother, and she was our teacher. I remember summertime playing baseball in the park and thinking it was the next best thing to the World Series. I remember the winters where me and my dad and my brother would go sleigh riding at the park and stay out there so long that our fingers and feet would be frozen when we came back home. I remember when I first got my license at the age of 14, at the age of 15, and I could only drive up to 6 o'clock in the evening. After that, I had to have an adult in the car. I remember receiving my license and being told you can only drive in Westchester, and if you drive in the city, it will be revoked. I remember me getting my first car and offering a girl a ride, and she laughed at me because the car was old. It wasn't old, guys. It was a 1972 Chevy Nova, and it was on point. No body rest, no nothing. It was really fast, but it wasn't the new box Nissan Maxima, so it wasn't, good enough. I remember that same girl asking me for a ride home in the pouring rain, and me saying no because you didn't want it when I asked you the first time. I know that's cold to me, but hey, I was a teenager. I was 15 years old. What do you want? I remember me and my best friend riding up Central Avenue, racing cars and winning every time. I remember racing this old guy, and he beat me, and we could not believe it. But hey, he had years of experience. It is what it is. I remember, my parents are going to kill me on this one, having my car and racing up from the high school, because everybody used to race in front of the high school, and beating the kid with the fastest car, because he had the Nissan Maxima, and thought 140 horsepower was fast when he met the 375 posi rear Chevy Nova. He knew his car was slow. I remember eating the first Snickers ice cream bar and became so addicted to it, I think I ate 3 per day. I remember going to school and what seemed to be the worst snowstorms in New York history, but yet school was still open. I remember getting at school and nobody else being there except me, because I didn't want to stay home, because whenever you stayed home in my house, my mom always found something else to do, which usually meant let's move some furniture. I remember my first day of high school being so afraid because the school had such a bad reputation that I walked 4 blocks around the corner and waited for everybody to leave to go inside before I walked inside. I remember going inside and realizing I made this whole thing up in my mind and knew half the people that was in the school. I remember taking a bus ride to Washington, D.C. on a field trip and finding a crush of mine had liked me ever since the 9th grade. I should have spoke up because now it's the 10th grade. I remember my godmother, who was my aunt, used to make me the best breakfast ever, and it still does, actually. I remember those beautiful long trips in the family car down back home to South Carolina to visit family, and we loved every minute of it. Those are the best memories ever a child could have. I remember my parents throwing those parties that a little kid shouldn't see, but I was sitting right in the middle of it, watching as much as I could see. Okay, that was just all for fun, YouTube. I mean, I don't know. I just have fun. I'm not even gonna sure if I'm gonna load this one up, but it was fun. I just remember, I remember the first day I got my first bike. It was great, and I remember the first day this was delivered to my house. Even better. So that's it. I'm going to say, YouTube, I'm out. As always, love what you ride and ride what you love. Thank you.